This is RoundHouse with your host, Senior Grandmaster Al Dacascos and Grandmaster Ron Van Clief, talking about the things that Grandmasters just don't want to talk about and giving you a seat at the table. This is your host, Sifu Sean Harflinger, and we look forward to talking to you. RoundHouse, take the hit. And now a word from our sponsors. Funky Puppy Productions. If you need a production done, Funky Puppy Productions can do it for you. Visit us at funkypuppyproductions.com. You can find Legacy Through the Eyes of a Warrior, written by Senior Grandmaster Al Dacascos, forwarded by Mark Dacascos, on Amazon.com. Remember, Legacy Through the Eyes of a Warrior, written by a master. Find your copy today. Through the Eyes of a Warrior tells a decades-long story of Senior Grandmaster Al Dacascos and his life in the martial arts, from the very beginning until the very present day. Read Legacy and learn what it is to be a master in life. AlDacascos.com. Visit AlDacascos.com today. The story of the Black Dragon, written by himself, Senior Grandmaster Ron Van Clief, the Hanged Man. The story of Ron Van Clief and how a man was hung alive for the color of his skin. His story of survival and his climb to the top of martial arts stardom. This is the story of the Black Dragon, a Hanged Man, by Ron Van Clief, found on Amazon.com. Adult discretion advised. There is adult content in the following podcast. Please be advised. Where were you 1968 when he was assassinated? Do you remember that happening?
I was a policeman in New York.
Oh, okay. So you're at the transit. You're there doing
Everybody
your thing.
was talking about it. It was on all the TV news, you know.
Yeah, I bet. Because there was a whole thing happening.
My mother was crying, you know.
Yeah, but there's a whole thing. Okay, so you can hear what it looks like from the other end, right? So he's dead already. I was born in 1974. So my entire life growing up, we were taught that, okay, Martin Luther King, his purpose was to unite the whole thing that was going on with segregation and the race wars and all that he was like, hey, you got to stop already. There's bigger things to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was his journey and what he did. Now, what they don't teach you is kind of what you learn that there was a bunch of CIA operations against him. You know what I mean?
FBI,
yeah, all kinds of weird, wacky shit.
Yeah, sure.
And so I don't know much about that. I've just like
It was a threat.
Well, I think that's the part that always like flabbergasts me is how can you preaching friendship
Peace
and survival? Yeah, how is that the threat? That never even. You could dive.
You have to remember the beginnings of this country. You know, when slavery happened, there have been generations of people, white and black, that think the same exact way now. That think the exact same way now. Black should not be marrying white. We shouldn't be using the same toilets, the same theaters, shouldn't be able to vote. All of that still exists today.
Where the fuck are these people at, Ron?
They're all over. I told you a few podcasts ago, I was in Ala Moana Mall, right? and I saw this white older guy like myself with a
Right.
Marine Corps hat on, right? And I said, Semper Fi. He looked at me and said, "Oh, Semper Fi." But we didn't have niggas when I was in the Corps.
He said that out of his mouth.
Out of a big tall guy too.
Wow.
We didn't have any niggas in our platoon. I said, "Oh shit." And that's what 63 years later.
Okay, so here's the problem with me. I have the kind of personality where I assume all the good things about you because I'm doing good things. And so, sure, I know evil exists and I can recognize it. But for the most part, I'm not out there thinking, nigger, 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 nigger. I'm not out. That's not even in my head. So I don't even, so it's so hard for me to fathom to go, what?
It almost sounds like a Richard Pryor joke.
Right? Yeah. So I just don't.
But that shocked me when a guy did that to me at Alamoana. I was, going to Panda Express to get some of my sesame chicken.
Right.
And I was going to invite him to have lunch with me. You know what I mean?
That is the craziest shit ever.
Semper Fi, Marine. We didn't have any niggas in my platoon. There were niggas in my battalion. I was like, oh shit. But I actually talked to the guy for about a half hour. I don't think I changed his head, but at least we were amicable. We were
right. I guess
to each other. But man, he was my 20-year-old core self would have smacked the shit out of him.
Right. It's
really, but 60 years later, okay.
Okay, so the intellectual in me, like my mind breaks when I try to wrap my mind around racism because I already understand what their arguments are. Like, okay, I get your arguments. You think genetically there's some kind of superiority. You think that there's some kind of, I've even read certain studies where you've got, I guess, like bigoted geneticists out there.
Yeah.
With like deep arguments, and no, it's this recessive gene that tends to violent tendencies, and so you just go, God. Okay. So I get it. I get it on a scientific, intellectual level. At some point, I get it. It's not valid. You know what I mean? Because you're just like,
the sad part, Sean, that it's valid in many people.
Well, and it has been throughout our entire history
for a century.
Well,
things can't even change until all the guys my age die.
It's not even okay. So here's the sad part.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not
the next generation is not as racist as the generation that I was brought up in.
I will correct.
I saw people in trees hung when I was young.
So here's the sad thing, though. I feel like the generation that's younger than me is more racist than my generation.
Really?
Yeah, and it's because I hear them. I listen to them speak. Oh, yeah, so I'm Gen X. You'll hear me say that all the time, right? So I'm Gen X. I'm 50 in a month. So I'm smack dab right in the middle. So 74 is when I show up out of nowhere. You remember what 1974 looked like. We still had black and white
living in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it was still the old times. It was good times back then, but it was ancient compared to today, especially with technology. Anyway, over the next 30 years, because of all the mistakes of racism prior, things like what you lived through, those type of things, for the next 30 years, everybody was trying to undo that, right? At least you could tell in American pop culture, right? Is if you were watching Bill Cosby, you know what I mean, and your old friend, who is it, Bobby Brown, right? If you're watching Bobby Brown and all these people, you're saying, oh, okay, look, America's on the mend, right? Yeah. So I'm a kid watching all that, going, oh wow, America's on the end. Sugar Ray Leonard, fuck everybody who's amazing.
Ali,
yeah, everybody who's amazing in my world growing up is black, So you're like, whoa, okay, cool, we're doing it. I guess that was in the past. Yeah. So I was excited. Today, I wouldn't say that. Today, I would say race is front and center once again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like the example that you just gave, some guy out in the public fucking domain had the balls to say some stupid shit like that.
And I couldn't get angry because was how he really felt.
No, I get it. I think the thing that I would be flabbergasted. I'd be
And
like,
he was
what?
old like me. The guy was, I think he said he was 82 years old.
It's like somebody pissing their pants in front of you.
I wanted to buy him lunch, but
No,
he
I
was
get it. No, I get it. I get it.
really. I'd say, come on, man, I'm going to a Panda. Come on.
Yeah, I've done that a lot. I've done that gamble. Here, let me change your heart and mind. Yeah, let me talk to you.
I don't think it works more than 80% of the time. You know, there is that small 20% that sometimes one link will come through, you know.
Well, I think here's a blessing of it. If you don't get through to the other person, you do get through to yourself, and you have had another opportunity to practice that preaching, right? You've had another opportunity. All right, I went through another battle. I couldn't change the person's mind. They're still a bigot, but fuck it. You know what I mean? I went up against it.
When I went in the Corps in 1960, right? I speak with two of my boot camp platoon brothers. One's name is Fred Castor. The other one's name is Robert Seldenridge. I went through Paris Island with both of these guys. One guy is in pretty good shape. The other guy is like obese. But he said to me, God, I wish I had stayed in shape like you were when we went through boot camp together. We're very proud of you. You know, it's like, oh shit. And these guys are my age. One is 80, one is 81. We went through the suck together at PI. You know what PI was in 1960? Terrible. They could actually beat you. They take these leather fucking belts off, man, and whip the shit out of you. I mean,
yeah, that I don't think. Okay, so there was an instance where somebody had drowned. A recruit had drowned at Paris Island, and I believe it was after that, way after that.
Yeah.
But once that happened, that place, you know, they slowed all that good fun down.
Yeah.
Because somebody had drowned.
Another guy was shot at the rifle range when I went through boot camp. A fucking recruit was shot in the head on the rifle range. Didn't clear the weapon. Who the fuck knows what happened? Blew his fucking head open.
Wow.
In boot camp, man.
Ouch.
Oh shit. Rifle points downrange forever. You know, fuck this.
Wow, that is intense. All right, so it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and you have had the pleasant presence to live through this whole thing, right? From the 60s until 2024.
When I went in the Marine Corps in 1960, I was I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Right.
Sent down to Camp Lejeune, South Carolina. Holy cow. You know, Confederate flags everywhere, white only, no colored, white only, you know.
Right.
I had never seen anything like that. I had never seen
1960 was Martin Luther King up and running.
They're letting coons in my fucking Corps now. I mean, that was the first real racism that I ever felt in my life. You know,
you didn't wait. You didn't have to deal with any of that growing up in New York?
Not that direct and stark.
Wow. Do you think he was doing it on purpose? Like
to my face, yeah.
Do you think it was shock value because he was a drill instructor, or was
that was the name of the game? He was from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Told me his grandfather had slaves, man.
Oh wow!
And I don't know why they let you motherfuckers. You should be plowing my field. He was that kind of, but he was a great Marine, brother. A picture Marine, you know, poster Marine. The guy.
He was a great Marine. He was a fucking bigot, but he was a great Marine. That drives me nuts.
I mean, he could fucking disassemble a fucking M1 and put it back together with an amendment.
Right, right. So okay, so that's what you mean. He's an
Blindfolded.
outstanding Marine
The
because he can perform
motherfucker
his
was
duty.
firing 248 out of 250 on the range.
Wow.
You know, that's fucking shooting, man.
Right, that
It's a
is.
500 yard thing is, you know,
It's rough.
yeah. I fired expert once. Most of the time I fired sharpshooter. I don't know. It was my eyes, my discipline. I don't know what the fuck it was. I just could never. That's why when I went to Vietnam, I was on the M60 machine gun. I didn't have to
Right,
be accurate.
right, 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 right. Sharpshooter and expert. Nothing has changed. I still believe it's still the same ranking. Right. I was sweating bullets because I think I made expert by like 1 point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was sweating bullets, but I was happy. I was happy. Thank God.
But both of these guys I've mentioned, Fred Castor and Robert Seldenridge, both of these guys fired expert. You know,
Right.
country boys hunting since they were 10. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I think that's the funniest thing is they tell you not to Kentucky shoot, but when you go through rifle training, you end up going back to the way you country shoot anyway. So yeah, I was raised up in the country on a ranch,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I just went naturally back to the way I always shot. So
yeah,
sure, when
yeah.
the PMI was around, I was like, yes, this is all amazing. But when it was time to shoot,
Yeah, yeah,
went
yeah.
back to what I could do best. Yeah. All right. So 1960, Confederate world. You're in the Marines. They're talking shit. And this is the world that Martin Luther King Jr. is fighting against. And it's the world that you're living in. Just
Yeah.
racism fucking everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That was the name of the game. That was the name of the game.
It's hard to fathom for somebody like me because, like I said, I'm in the 70s and 80s where it's more out in the open. People understand that it's a no-no. Do you know what I mean?
Listen, they had a Confederate flag right next to the first sergeant's desk at headquarters.
Wow.
So
what do you expect then when you see a Confederate flag? You just figure, shit.
what you do is what they tell you to do. You do the best you can and never quit.
Right.
That's all you do. I didn't know anything else. I was ready to go to Vietnam or someplace when I got out of boot camp.
Right.
I was ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they prepared you for the
Standing
harshness of the
at the
world.
leash. You know what I mean? M60. Wow. I could take my M60 part in a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So since then, it's 1960s. You've gone through Vietnam. You're back. You're a transit cop, and Martin Luther King is assassinated.
We were shocked. My mom was crying. I mean,
she's crying because she had hope, perhaps, that things were getting better.
She would always say, I have a dream and all that stuff. She would always recreate his speeches in my mind. You know, she was one of those.
Did you notice the ripples from what he was doing? Were you ever directly involved with anything that he was doing? I guess I should ask that question. Did you ever meet the guy? You never met the guy?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so my next question comes up perfectly then. When he was making ripples in the waters of racism, what did you see happen as those ripples went out? Did you see the world? Did you see the United States go, oh, wow, no shit?
Well, by that time, I knew what was up.
Right.
I knew that was the system. I mean, I'm stationed, even when I left South Carolina, went to Vietnam, I went back to North Carolina, to Camp Lejeune. So there was no difference in you go in town, that's what it is. You know, there's the black side of town, you know, across the tracks, you know what I mean? That's it, man. That was it. I used to wear my uniform for my fatigue and whatnot when I went into town. Because if I look like one of the regular guys that were from that town, just walking around like we did, I would got a beat down.
So you wore your camouflage to camouflage yourself.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What a
When I got lynched, I was in my uniform.
You know, I was wondering if we should talk about that today, because there's so many times that we need to talk about it. We need to bring it up, but it's such a crazy emotional experience.
It always has a flashback thing for me when I even am asked about it. You know,
Right.
all I wanted to do was sit on the bus in the front instead of in the back. You know, I'm a Marine. I'm in my uniform. I'm going to the bus station to get the fucking bus to go home for the weekend. You know?
Right.
I'm not hurting anybody. I got my fucking knapsack with me. You know, I'm in uniform. You know?
Right.
Get in the back, nigga.
Oh,
It was just one of those days where I sat like the second row up from the driver. Of course, lots of shit happened on the bus. The police come, they take me off the bus. You know, they actually put me in the cell. Yeah, they call the base. Then they say, "Okay, we're gonna let him out." They let me out. I don't know where the fuck I was. I'm walking down the road. 2 trucks of guys pull up next to me, jump out, start kicking my fucking ass. They broke my jaw, they broke my nose, they broke 6 ribs, they ruptured my eardrum. They knocked out 10 teeth.
Jesus.
I had plastic teeth after that since 1963. This happened in August of 63. Plastic teeth, you know what I mean?
Right.
Fucked up ankle, fucked up knee. They broke my left arm and turned around backwards. So I still have problems with my left elbow to this day. My neck, I had a fractured neck. I wound up having to wear a fucking thing on my neck, you know. They sent me to a hospital off base, and I heard the nurses talking about we can't have a nigga on our ward. Let's kill him for real. They were
What?
going to inject me with something to kill me because they didn't want black people on that ward in that hospital.
After everything you just gone through.
Yeah. So I call it one of my buddies, Bobby Weber. He was in my company, and he came and got me.
I'll bust the fuck up.
All bus. When he got me, he took me back to the barracks. Right. I took my belt buckle and put it around my wrist to have my arm tied to the bunk above me because I couldn't bring it down. Can you imagine?
And where was the Marine Corps during this?
They wanted to give me a court martial for being AOL.
Because you were
I
suffering
didn't get back.
wounds.
I didn't get back. I was in the hospital. I didn't get back to the base. You know?
That is the craziest shit ever. So nobody said, "Oh, you didn't come back because you were lynched and fucked up and you were in the hospital recovering."
No, they had the MPs out looking for me.
Nobody was calling hospitals and shit.
They don't do that.
I think it's believe me, I've seen crazy examples of what the military does. Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah.
Wish that they had killed me. Oh, you're alive? Fuck.
Damn it.
And the sad part is this. When I was fighting these fucking guys, before I got hit in the face with the shovel, I grabbed this guy's arm and he had a USMC fucking tattoo on his forearm.
Right. You know, the first,
Imagine this.
I can't.
And then I get hit in the face with a shovel, wake up in the hospital, fucking rope burns and shit on my neck fractured, muscles ripped in my shoulders and neck, and totally everywhere else fucked up.
Right.
Kicked in my eye with them fucking boots and shit. You know what I mean?
How did you
They
possibly?
did try to kill me. I don't know how I lived through that.
You know, you have no idea how, because that was my next question. How the hell did you live through that?
I woke up in the hospital hearing these fuckers talking about killing me on the next shift.
Because they couldn't have a
Niggas on this ward. On this
see,
floor.
I can't comfortably, yeah. So
my whole head about the Marine Corps and everything changed.
right. You know, I always get excited talking to you about these kind of things because the breadth of your life, you're 81 years old. And so when you talk to somebody who's 81 about racism, you have this really nice gauge, right? You have this really nice gauge of authority of the subject. And so you're gonna have me ask you a lot, you know. So do you see a difference between then and now? And I ask that a lot because it's pertinent. You know what I mean? You and I both have children. You know, where you wonder, like, well, shit.
I do believe there's some difference, but I do believe that racism is a very big part of the mainstay of American culture.
You didn't see it anywhere
It's
else.
just built in. Well, you see it in Europe, but if you're in Paris, if you're not French, you're shit anyway. Or if you're in Germany, if you're not German, you're shit.
Right, right. You don't see it
in
you
Germany.
See it when you're in
it's
Hong
not
Kong.
a white German or a black German. You're German or you're a fucking, even if you're a Schwarzer, you know, you're still a fucking German. You know what I mean?
You didn't see any of that in Hong Kong when you lived in Hong Kong?
When, yes, I did see some of that. But see, I was a Hakwa. I told you.
Yes, you had no soul or whatever. What is that again?
That everybody that's not Chinese is already dead. So that's why you're a ghost.
You're a ghost.
The Guaylo or the white ghost, Hakwai or the black ghost, you know. And I got 10 years, I got used to that.
You know, I've lived here in Hawaii about 30 years, and here it's similar. Haole means no breath. So I also have no soul. I don't have the breath of life. Right? But I always come back and say, yeah, okay, that's great. You know what I mean? It's great. It is what it is. It all boils down to people's perspectives of superiority. I guess that's the thing that makes me sad every time. It's like, man, you didn't what? Okay. Yeah, you what?
Imagine what I think of that now.
After all this time.
And I've experienced that all my life.
Fuck.
You know, I get on the elevator. The people move to the side. They're free. I mean, it's easy.
So I guess I'm an anomaly because I don't have any white friends and I don't circulate in white culture. My wife is local. All my friends are
Hawaiian.
Yeah, what?
I consider you Hawaiian.
So anyway, it's so weird because I just look at people and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Because you go into an elevator and like you said, people squoosh out of the way. Now I would move out of the way to give people room. I wouldn't move because of anybody's race. I would move to give everybody room because I don't want you fucking up on my ass, right? I'm in the elevator. I give everybody have some fucking room and shit. I'm not thinking about color of people at all. I guess I'm a weirdo. I look at body language to see if people are violent. I'm paying attention to that, their body language, right? I'm looking at people's eyes, their faces, what they're doing, how they interact with people.
We're living in strange times, man.
Yeah.
It's sad.
I guess
that's why we got to make sure our kids are strong enough to be able to maintain and be disciplined throughout their life. That's what we have to give our kids, that love and that the discipline to be able to keep going, man. The deck is stacked. The deck is stacked.
The deck is stacked. That and conversations like these, because one of the magic pills that comes from talking to you is, hey kids, these motherfuckers have been doing this shit for decades. And you know what I mean? Insanity is what? Insanity is what? Do you really want to continue the cycle, or do you want to listen to this man's words who's 81? He was alive when Martin Luther King was alive. So all the same shit. And he's talking about it's the same shit today. So do you want to sit down and repeat that cycle, or do you really want to enact some kind of change? Because somebody's got to do something different to enact change. And I think the different part might actually be the peace part, because I haven't seen that one yet. You know what I mean? I've seen all the protesting. I've seen all the burning of shit. You've seen all the wars, but when was the last time you saw, hardcore peace stuff? Was it Woodstock?
Last one I was at.
Right? So I think that's probably the new thing, I think. Maybe that's the meek part of the world.
That and Da Nang.
Da Nang. Tell me about Da Nang, since you brought up Da Nang. You said peace. You said, okay, so I asked, when was the last time we saw peace? Woodstock. I put Woodstock out because I know you went there. Now, when you say Da Nang, does that mean when things are done?
No, that's when I was leaving. That's when I left.
Right. That was your other moment of peace when you were
going
leaving.
home. I thought I was going to get shot, man. I thought I was going to get fucking killed. It's crazy. Half of my platoon was killed.
Right.
I mean, half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My father, he was also a Marine in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And his second step off a helicopter, he got shot 9 times. Right up his leg, shit. Middle of his body, and into his head. He got scalped.
Oh, shit.
So it didn't actually go into his brain, but he got scalped.
Yeah.
So they put his ass back in the helicopter, and he gets a massive blood transfusion the next couple of days. And apparently he gets hepatitis through the blood transfusion. So he gets all healed up, good to go, gets in back into the field, and gets burnt to shit by some kind of like incendiary device, him and a bunch of other guys. Shit. So he gets burnt to shit. Then he gets it all fixed up, heals him back up, goes back in, and he's able to like not get fucked up the last time, and goes through and does all his duty with everybody. But poor guy got the shit kicked out of him. He had PTSD really, really bad. But you're like, damn, 2 steps off a helicopter. I guess it sounds like the machine gun fire just went. Just shit. Anyway, fuck me, man. All these years, decades and decades and decades, Ron, it breaks my heart that you say nothing's changed. It probably does. It break your heart? And you're like, nothing's changed. Where all these little motherfuckers come from?
It's sad that people still have that hate and fear in their heart, not just in their mind, in their heart.
I blame education.
It's all fear.
I blame education. Because the human genome has been mapped out. That's why I say I blame education. So the human genome has been mapped out. And when they mapped it out, it proved that humans are all related. And the only thing that makes us different from each other is the amazing ability of adaptation, because we evolve and adapt. So if you stick 2 humans in different parts of the planet, they'll evolve and adapt into different type humans and shit, and come back 10,000 years later, not even look like each other. It's amazing.
Sure.
Right? So that was proven. And so I was so excited when that scientific evidence came out and said, hey, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Enough with your fucking, chattering already. The map right here says you're all the fucking same. This map's how we make you people. Right? If I was like a fucking god or something, like, shut up, humans. Here's the map. It's the same for every single one of you. You paint, it's like the car you get. You paint your car whatever color you like. It's the same fucking Datsun, dickhead. Here's the schematic. So it just drives me fucking nuts. So that's why you're
Well,
watching my facial expressions when you talk about your life. Blows
well,
my mind.
when I went through boot camp, I never realized, they scare you, they break you down, they do all that stuff. But
Right.
I never realized that people could be so cruel and so heartless. They were just, it was beyond anything that I could even conceive. You know,
Right.
I
Right.
remember one time my drill instructor, his name was Staff Sergeant Smokey Stover. I know Fred and Robert will remember this guy. He was a postal marine, about 5'10", 150 pounds, high cheekbones, creases sewn in his fatigues.
Mm,
He's one
right.
of those guys. Spit shine boots in the field. One of those.
And they had to be spit
Fire
shined in the field.
fire 250 on the range.
Right. There we go.
And would do that just to show you, you fuckers can't watch this. And he put 10 in the fucking bullseye at
Right.
500.
Right.
And the guy did a 50-mile force march with us. In the summer, he wasn't sweating. My fucking fatigues had big things of sweat down to my ass. Do you
So
understand?
here, do
He was
those guys ever get deployed, or do they just run that circuit
he
8,000
was in
times?
he was in Korea.
Okay.
This
I
guy
always
was a
wondered
Korean
that. Like,
veteran.
how the hell?
Lost toes at the
Lost the
Chosun
toe.
Reservoir in Korea. One time we had a junk in the bunk. This is like 1962, 61. Junk in the bunk. The drill instructor comes in. He takes my complete rack and throws everything over. He didn't even look at this shit. He just threw the whole thing over and started beating me until I was unconscious with his swagger stick. That was Staff Sergeant Smokey Stover.
His swagger stick.
Yes, that was about a 3-foot wooden thing with the Marine Corps emblem on the end that he would beat you with.
Wow. I'm at
And
a loss for words. I'm like, a
and guys in
swagger
my
stick.
platoon, pissed and put dirt and sand down the bore of my M1. Shows you how long ago that was. So when he looked down the bore, dirt and shit came out, and you know what that meant for me.
Right. You got fucked up.
I went to the bridge behind that.
All right. So let's go
3 black guys in one platoon.
get
A
three.
lot of shit. We took a lot of shit. A lot of shit.
Let's.
Blanket parties.
Oh
we
God.
took a lot of shit.
So moving forward, you've gotten out of boot camp. You're in the fleet. How did things change then?
Um, all of the NCOs and the officers were all Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, OCS guys, and all the NCOs, all the sergeants, they were all from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana. They were all country boys. These guys that I mentioned that I'm in contact with, I don't think they wore shoes before boot camp because their feet were bleeding. You hear me?
Wow.
Yeah. But they could read track and stuff like a fucking Indian, bro. You hear me? That's right.
Damn. So decade by decade, you go through life and you've
I
got
thought it was
this.
going to change when I went to Woodstock in 1969. I went with Richie Havens. I smoked dope with fucking Jimi Hendrix, with fucking all the guys from Mick Jagger's crew. All those guys. Richie Havens. It was like a week. Rainy, shitty, muddy, fucked up.
The
Acid,
weather was
weed,
fucked up and everybody was still doing
acid,
shit.
weed, and sex for like 5-6 days straight.
You know what? Okay, so while you were talking about this list of people that you were with, it reminded me, wait. This guy has had a life where he was teaching all these highfalutin Hollywood elites, you know what I mean? Because you were a private instructor. We don't bring that up a lot, but we're talking to the Black Dragon for those of you that are listening, a famous kung fu legend who
Oh,
traveled the
I
world with Richard Pryor and had all these great friends and clients. And here we are. My next question would be this, because I was going to be like, hey, let's go through the decade and talk about how racism changed and morphed. But wait a second. You're not a regular everyday dude living in Cincinnati. You're the Black Dragon. Mick Jagger, all these people. Even then, you're telling me that tendrils of racism still come in and they're like, hey.
Oh, I did like 100 bong hits with fucking Jimi Hendrix, man.
So he didn't give you any hard times because he's Jimi Hendrix.
What a cool guy he was. He came to my apartment when I was living on the Lower East Side on 10th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue.
Were you the cop at this time?
Yeah, I was a cop.
So you're the cop and you're doing, okay, so wait a second. How do you find yourself meeting Jimi Hendrix? How does that happen?
That happens. Ron Takanashi took me in his Volkswagen bus, the little Volkswagen bus.
Right.
With, you know who Richie Havens is?
You've said that name a lot.
Grammy-winning country singer of that period.
Okay. Country singer.
Amazing guy. You know him from the coffee commercials.
Okay, yes, you have brought this up because I said, is it the Folgers in your cup guy?
Folgers,
and you said yes. And I was like, Folgers in your cup.
He was a very good friend of mine. He was one of my martial arts students. He was also a student of Ron Takanashi, who introduced me to him. What a great guy. I mean, he was a real hippie.
Who knew Jimi Hendrix?
Ron Takanashi.
Okay. And so he's like, hey, you want to go party with Jimi Hendrix?
We all went over to their tent.
You're like, this motherfucker. Because you already knew what Jimi Hendrix was up, was already up about, right? Yeah. You already knew. Okay, so can you remember? What's the first thing Jimi Hendrix says? Were you the Black Dragon yet?
No.
You were not the Black Dragon yet.
But we talked, he was an Army Ranger.
Right.
He went through, what do you call it? Fort Benning, Georgia. And that's where the Marine Corps sent me for jump school, Fort Benning, Georgia.
Right, because we shared those.
The Marine Corps didn't have a jump school on the base yet.
Right.
So that's where it was. And we talked about the jumps there,
Did he?
Man.
Do you remember if he had a similar experience in the Army as you did in the Marines?
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys talked about that?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
That's why he didn't stay in.
Because he's like, fuck that.
That's why I didn't stay in either.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Marines that are like us. They're like, you go in, you do your 4 years, and you go, all right, cool. Well, I'm glad I can help. And then you move on.
I don't want 16 years more of this shit.
Right. You're like, yeah, well, it's okay. I think a lot of us, I can only speak for myself. This is what happened for me. I joined the Marines, and halfway through the Marines, I realized, I thought this was going to be a good path for me. It is a good path for me. I get it. But it looks like I'm a teacher. Like naturally, I'm a teacher. I'm an instructor.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just happen to be like, it looks like my strength and my power goes in this direction. And so being a heavy machine gunner wasn't exactly where that direction, was leading me. And so I just like most people, you look down the road, what's the future look like? Yeah, I can kind of see what's going on here in the Marines, and politics is really heavy. I didn't think it was, but then you learn how heavy politics are, and you're like, I didn't sign up for that. You know what I mean?
Listen, a door gunner got shot and killed one day when the helicopter landed my sergeant called me and said, I need you to replace this guy, on a helicopter. Fuck it. M60 machine gun in the door. Door gunner. Scary. Fucking scary. Incoming shit, man. Super, super, super noisy. Super, super noisy. I threw up first time we were doing some evasive shit, I threw the fuck up on my uniform and everything. And it was
wow.
what the fuck? And I'm supposed to shoot and make sure I don't get shot.
Right.
In this little fucking door,
It's intense.
Yeah. And I was only 20 years old when I got to Vietnam. I was 20. I turned 20 in the fucking poorhouse in fucking Saigon.
You know what? I think you mentioned that was your first love.
Yeah.
Well, your second love, not your first love. Your first love was the Marine Corps, but your second love was Saigon.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. So
there was a lot of racism then. A lot
Saigon?
of recruiters didn't want to fuck black guys.
Why is that?
They thought we had tails. I told you the story. This one chick looked at my ass to see if I had a tail.
I don't know. I don't think I remember that. Somebody looked at your ass to see if you had a tail. Yeah. Did you say that last time in the last interview? Oh shit, went right over my head. What the fuck? I can't believe I would have. What? What?
Had me looking.
Tail.
What the fuck?
What the fuck's going on? What do you mean a tail? Do you have a tail? Who the fuck are you? Wow.
Yeah, it was quite an experience, Of course, I caught the clap the first time. That was my virgin fuck that I caught clap.
Wow, that sucks. Wow, what an experience. The world gives us the craziest fucking lessons. And so
it does.
I can't even. Sometimes you listen to people and you go, I can't believe that. That is fucking nuts. It's nuts.
Pussy was only $3 then.
What'd you say?
Pussy was only $3.
$3 pussy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was a PFC. What was late school? I was probably making about $180 a month.
Right. Yeah, nobody's making any money. But hey, $3. Wow. That's fucking crazy.
They had I had a running tab.
This guy.
I would just
falls in love
and brought my check to the mama side. What crazy days we had, really.
My God. Yeah, you got your workout then. You got all your workout. Now, did you tell all your wives this is where I learned it? I learned to become the ninja that I am today.
I remember climbing Mount Fuji with these two guys, two country boys. We're drunk and fucked up. We're at base camp at the base of Mount Fuji. We just take a backpack with 6 packs of beer and fucking sake,
Right.
And you just go climb that motherfucker. They had to come and get us. They had to rescue us. 2 of my friends lost toes, frostbite.
Wow. That sounds like a fun adventure. Whose idea was that?
I think it was mine.
Hey guys, let's get fucked up and climb Mount Fuji. You mean like Mount Fuji where people get frozen to death? Yeah, Mount Fuji.
They didn't even have barracks there then. It was all tents, They
weren't like in Quonset huts? You think they have no Quonset huts?
Real tents, canvas. You go out the tent and you look right there and there's fucking Mount Fuji. I was there a month. I said, no, we got to climb that motherfucker.
Wow. So you get up there. When did you realize you were fucked?
The snow started coming down like ice kind of stuff. And we just couldn't go any further, It was just like an impasse, man. I would need ice shit and whatnot to get any further, It was like, holy shit. Can't get back. And they came and they rescued us.
That's crazy. That is crazy. So you go.
And then, it's funny, right? I fall in a benjo ditch one night, coming from town when I used to drink. I stopped drinking 50 years ago,
Right.
but I used to drink sake and akadama wine. I'm walking down the street. I fall into a benjo ditch. You know what a benjo ditch is?
Please tell me what a benjo ditch
Benjo
is.
ditch is to the side of the road. It's a sewer.
Oh no!
I almost drowned in shit
Oh.
because it's at such a slant. You can't climb up. Like, you know
Oh
what I mean?
no! It's a trap.
Yeah. Holy shit.
How did you get out of the benjo ditch?
Some guys got me out.
Oh, you were rescued from the benjo ditch.
Can you imagine it?
That sounds
I had a
fun to
girlfriend
say,
in
benjo
town
ditch.
where we would all sleep under one blanket. The blanket was like 25, 30 feet in diameter. And it'd be 15 people sleeping in one fucking room.
This was where again?
In Japan, at the base of Mount Fuji.
Oh, you saw all the hikers,
No,
the
hookups
climbers.
and bar people and bar girls and other Marines with their girlfriends.
Every fucking person in the room sleeps under a 30-foot blanket,
Yeah.
like parachute days at the elementary school. They just
Right.
bring in this big ass blanket. Get
Yeah.
under this blanket. That's fucked up. So what happens when somebody's farting in the fucking underneath the blanket? You're hotboxing everybody.
There was a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, all kinds of weird shit. Your partner could crawl the fuck out, go to the other side of the blanket, and you wouldn't even know it.
But imagine drowning in a benjo ditch. Oh man.
Did you write all this in your book, The Hung Man?
Yes.
All
Yes.
these adventures in Benjo Ditch adventures and all this shit is in The Hung Man. There is a Hung Man commercial, by the way, after the podcast. The Hangman, sorry. If you're interested in buying the Hangman, you can get that on Amazon.com and read about the Benjo Ditch. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, benjo ditch.
The Benjo Ditch. I love it. I've never heard about Benjo ditches before. Now I want to make a song about Benjo ditches. It sounds something like exciting. Watch out for the Benjo Ditch. Anyway.
But imagine you go into town and of course you're looking for a woman and
a $3 woman
because you're black.
The what?
They don't want to fuck you because you're black.
Well, they do if they check for your tail.
Where they fuck black guys.
You know wait. There's certain places that won't, and there's certain places that will.
Yes.
So you had to go down to the certain place that would bang black dudes.
And they call that Sakahachi Alley.
Did it suck that you had to go down to Sakahachi Alley? Did it feel shameful that I have to go down to Sakahachi Alley?
Crazy, right?
That is
so look
sad.
How racism starts with the hookers.
That wasn't even in America. Yeah, that's not even in America. But you get your ass down to Sakahachi Alley, and everybody knows what's going on down in Sakahachi Alley. That's fucking sad.
It is sad.
So I guess one of the most important questions I can ask you is has it affected your paradigm? You're a very humble and friendly person. You don't come across as a bigoted guy.
Way,
I'm sorry. Oh, so it's just your personality.
I haven't always been this way.
Oh.
I think my time in the Marine Corps, it wasn't just Vietnam, it was being lynched. It was a lot of shit that happened during that period that changed me from a sweet, soft, easygoing guy to a tough, hard, jarhead, don't give a fuck, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Right.
It only takes a certain amount of shit to happen in your life to change you like that.
Right.
Being shot at, being lynched, being called nigger all your life. I mean, there's a lot of shit happening there, man. And it has to change something in your head. I know at one point, I never got to the point of being racist, but I do remember after being lynched that I had sort of a bigoted way of thinking about people.
Right.
it would be if you're white, automatically you're wrong. You're fucked up. You know what I mean?
You said earlier, just a minute ago,
I went through that period.
you said it doesn't take much to change a person, and then you rifle off getting lynched, this and that, getting shot at. Those are major life events. And so you say then, I wasn't really racist, but then I kind of was. How long were you? Okay, so I have this lecture when
I say that lasted a decade.
Yeah, because you know what? I would explain to my kids that you're going to hear everybody tell you that discrimination is wrong, but humans naturally discriminate. And I'll give you an example.
Of course.
I'll give you an example. A poison berry. Once we discover the berry is poisonous, we discriminate. We no longer eat that fucking berry. It's just a thing that we do. So if you date somebody and they fuck you over, chances are, whatever they look like, you're going to avoid. If she's a redhead, if she's a blonde, if she's fucking Polish or Cuban, you'd be like, fuck that. And you're going to avoid those people. It doesn't mean that you're a bigoted son of a bitch. It just means that you're discriminatory. So in your case, you're lynched. You're lynched by people you thought you could trust, that you were brothers, right? And you explain now that you discriminated against white people and that for a decade. You said, fuck you guys.
I just said, you are wrong.
Yeah. You're not safe.
I'm not safe.
Yeah.
I didn't feel safe.
Yeah, you're not safe. I talk about this. I've surmised life down to two things. I talk about it all the time. You probably see me talk about this all the time. Friendship and survival. Two very simple promises that we can give each other. It's very simple. Yeah. Two very simple rules. Friendship and survival. And when people fuck that up, you can clearly look at them and go, well, fuck you.
Exactly.
This is very simple. Friendship and survival. Don't be fucking that up. So it's, I've said flabbergasted way too many times in today's discussion, but I'm flabbergasted that people exist in the world that are like that. They're like, no, fuck you.
But I got over that.
10 years later.
It took about 10 years. I mean, it took almost 10 years before I could button the top button on any shirt.
Ooh, because you had a visceral feeling.
I'd start shaking. I'd have trouble breathing. Sweat would just start popping down the side of my face. Really.
Is it common?
My PTSD came from being hung, not from Vietnam. By the time I got to Vietnam, I had been hung and all that fucking shit. I went to Vietnam after I got hung.
And PTSD stacks. That's how that works. It stacks on it. It's like concussions. It stacks, damage stacks. So PTSD is one of those things. Yeah. So, God damn it. What was my fuck? Oh, in your experience, how many people are in the I was lynched and survived club?
I haven't met any.
Yeah. I didn't Google it. I'm not out there trying to figure out.
I don't know why I wasn't killed. I certainly was beat up enough. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you weren't killed for some fucking.
I was in the hospital for 4 months, man.
Okay, so here's the one thing. This is one value I find in it, and I told you this a lot. So you tell me your story the first time, and I'm like crying, like, what the fuck? But I find incredible value in the fact that you're not jaded and hateful. Right? And I've said this before. That's why your story to me is important, because you've had one of the deepest betrayals ever, and you are not a hateful person. And so there is a very powerful message within that, because a lot of us would become jaded and vengeful and hateful.
Forever. Yeah.
Forever.
Like
ever.
That lynch me.
Forever. Right. And you didn't do, the Ronin Ninja Revenge team out in the depths of the darkness of the fucking alleyways and shit, fucking people up. You didn't do that. You didn't have your revenge lynching and become the lyncher of the shadows. You didn't do any of that shit.
I didn't, even though I might have wanted to, but I was sent to Vietnam about 1 year after that event.
Oh, so you had some other shit. You said, fuck that. I got to deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll deal with this and that together later. So did you not really have a chance to heal from being lynched until after you returned from Vietnam? Is that when the healing began?
I don't think it began until the 1990s when I started getting therapy and stuff.
Fuck, I was going to say the 80s. I was going to give you a decade after Vietnam, but
I went to the Vietnam Vets Leadership Program in the 1960s when I came home.
right.
When I was a policeman. And I got therapy and whatnot, but I was too involved in living my new life
After the war.
After the war, after the Marine Corps. I was like a black hippie. I lived in the village in the Lower East Side. All my friends were acid heads and stuff. I mean, we were just music, women, drugs, booze.
What do they call black hippies?
We were just hippies.
Man, you guys are doing all this cool creative shit. Nobody put the two words together and said blippy.
No.
Look at all these blippies over here in East New York blipping out.
But those were very happy days, I met so many big time rock stars, I met so many entertainers, but those were very wonderful days. I danced at a club called the Electric Circus, and all the big groups played there.
The Electric Circus.
The Stone, all of the great groups played there. All of them.
And so this is
get high with them and just.
So you've returned from Vietnam. You are a cop. You're a New York City transit cop. And is this the time that you're
59? Excuse me, from 65 to 69.
Is this the time that you are sharpening your martial arts skill set and becoming known as a martial artist? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
My first big tournament was in 1965.
Okay. And it was in the 70s that the Black Dragon was bestowed upon you.
By Bruce Lee.
Right.
After smoking 3 or 4 joints.
Man, so you've had some good times. Here we are trying to commemorate Martin Luther King.
It's been a great ride. I mean,
I think one of the great things about you is that you've got this terrible history of hate and being a victim of hate. But then, like I mentioned, you bounced back. You know what I mean? You had the wherewithal within your heart and soul to say, "Hey, there's other things in this journey, and I've got to continue."
It has to be. You can get burnt up with those kind of feelings.
Bam! You could get
burnt up.
You could get burnt up to where you hang a dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what happened to you is actually the fucking end result of you letting it burn you up.
Yeah.
You actually repeat the cycle. You burn somebody else up.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where your message is important. You're like, yeah, you know what? I might not have known Martin Luther King. That's great and shit. But I did endure what he was trying to stop at the hands of fucking racists. Right. And then I went through the healing that they speak of. Right. The healing that they want the country to have. I personally went through that shit. It took me about 10 fucking years. And then I had to do other shit. But still yet, here I am, 81 years old. And I can tell you, the worst of the worst can happen to you. And you can still heal, live a life, feel love. You know what I mean? Laugh, have liberty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess the end of it all would be, I don't know if I have pity on bigots, but you sure do just shake your head and go.
I feel sorry for them, truly, in my heart.
There's an entire...
How much pain they're dealing with unnecessarily.
Right?
Really?
For no fucking reason.
I don't care what anybody is anymore. I only care how I treat them and how they treat me.
And you know what? We've talked about this before. By the time you're 70, mentally, naturally, you were supposed to start to disassociate anyway. You're supposed to get, indeed, when you get to 70, you're supposed to start saying, fuck it all anyway, because I'm too old for this shit.
That's
you kidding me? I've been here 70 fucking years. How are you going to tell me this black fucking dude's any different than any other motherfucker? Because I've been here the whole time watching. There's been zero proof. You know what
Zero.
I mean? Yeah, zero proof. Tell me everything you fucking said, because it's all been disproven, right? So when I was in college, I was studying psychology, and I remember that was one of the first things that stuck out as a big red flag. Oh man, these guys are some racist motherfuckers back in the 1900s. And as you go through the history of psychology, you realize science comes in and saves the day. Science comes in and says, nope, nope, nope. Doesn't matter what race you are. All neurons are packed within the human skull the same fucking way. So you can go fuck yourself. Just because some people might have smaller brains, it doesn't mean they're stupid.
That's for sure.
Right? The human brain still has the same amount of neurons. You know, same thing with women. So you watch the evolution of psychology and you just kind of laugh and go, you bunch of fucks. But here we are today, my friend.
I really do feel sorry for people that have that hate in their heart, because nothing they do can make them happy. I know people that are rich. We all want to be rich. They're rich, but they have these hateful thoughts and they can't live with us.
Well, where does it come from?
What is that, man?
I think it comes from fear.
You got everything you want. Because, I mean, if you had a few $100 million, you'd have no fucking worry at all. I know people with that kind of money that wouldn't say one word to me unless I was who I am. Right. If I was just another brown person on the street, sweet. Really, man.
That is the weirdest shit fucking
I know
ever.
People like that. I remember when I was training movie stars, lots of ones like J-Lo and fucking Richard Gere, Cindy Crawford, Sarah Jessica Parker. These type high level, A-level stars.
Right.
Most of them were very pleasant people. But outside of the gym, they would walk past you like they didn't know you. It took me a while to get used to that. Can you imagine? They walk right past you like you were invisible.
Well, if I didn't know them, I'd expect them to not, to walk right past me like I was invisible. I get it. No, I totally get it. I totally get it.
But once that I knew that I trained every morning for years, I made those motherfuckers sweat and we had good times together. Holy shit, man.
So 81.
I used to train Bianca Jagger. You know Bianca Jagger?
The last name sounds familiar. Mick Jagger's
wife.
Okay.
I trained her for about 5 years. She became very good at martial arts, man. Very good. But
really?
people hated to see me with her at the gym or in the street.
Because they thought, what, you were giving her the black dragon?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it. I mean,
giving you the black
I don't know what they thought, but they found it hateful.
I can't get it. I'm in an interracial marriage. You know what I mean? All my kids are half. You're in an interracial marriage. Yeah, it's just I don't understand any of this shit because every conversation I have with you, when we talk about race, we talk about what we're talking about today. Like, what the fuck? It's like we're trying to, unravel a Rubik's Cube. Like, how the fuck does this even work? Who the fuck are they? How does this even go together?
Yeah.
I do. Anyway, well, God bless Martin Luther King and the things he tried to do. I'm super sad. I have a dream,
and that's a very important.
I think do you know what I like about him? I grew up with this guy talking about seeing the color of people's character, right? So that really stood out to me as a kid. Like, oh, okay, cool, got it. I got it. Oh, hey, someone is having a thing here. Sorry, oh, okay.
I met Malcolm X.
Through him?
Yep.
Wow. You read some of Malcolm X's work and you listen to his quotes and you kind of go, huh, he wasn't a huge fan of Democrats. Right? You just go, wow, you wonder. Like,
interesting man. We had a conversation one day at
you were the Black Dragon when you met him.
Yes.
Hello, welcome. X, I am the Black Dragon. We both have very cool, interesting names.
One of his bodyguards was my dojo mate, this Chaka Zulu he introduced me to.
Oh, okay. Wasn't he one of the Ultimate Warrior Hall of Fame inductees?
Yes, yes.
I remember that name. That's fun. So
He's 85 years old now.
He's 85 years old.
And still working out.
See, that's the cool thing about all you guys. You guys all train and all that. Let's jump back onto Malcolm X because that's an interesting conversation. You walk in the room, yo, Malcolm.
No. he had just given a speech.
Yeah.
And we went into a back room. Zulu took me in there to meet him.
Was your friend at the time known as Shaka Zulu?
Yes. Yes.
Do you remember? This is gonna sound like the weirdest question ever. When did the code name thing start? Was that already been around for a long time?
What code name?
Was your friend? Well, okay. Malcolm X wasn't born Malcolm X, was he?
No, something little. I can't think of his first name.
Right. And you weren't born the Black Dragon.
Right.
Right. Was your friend born Shaka
Zulu?
Zulu?
That fucking name.
Right. Was your friend born Shaka Zulu, or is Shaka Zulu his kung fu name?
He changed his name to Shaka Zulu.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my question.
His original name was Curtis Gordon.
Curtis. Okay. So here's my question.
From St. Thomas.
So we talked about this a few episodes later, earlier when we were talking about what is it to be a master, and like out of nowhere, everybody had to be a professor. And you're like, what the fuck? Where all these professors come from? And now it's great grandmaster and senior grandmaster,
supreme grandmaster,
supreme grandmaster.
Oh my God!
Same thing happened with the Black Dragon changing your name to Shaka Zulu, Malcolm X. Was that all going on in the 60s and 70s? I wasn't there.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Like, everybody had, a fucking what is it? An alter ego. You know what I mean? Yeah, everybody had their things.
When Bruce Lee gave me the name the Black Dragon, it was at a tournament in New York. We were in a hotel at Madison Square Garden, and I lost.
Right.
Gave me the name the Black Dragon.
Okay, you know what? I don't think I ever asked that. How did that name then? We understand how you got the name. How did that name then go into play?
I never used it.
Well, how the fuck did it become a thing then?
Some of my students were calling me that.
So Bruce Lee starts it, gives you the name. Everybody's like, fuck yeah, Bruce Lee called him the Black Dragon.
6 years later, I make a film, The Black Dragon. So
how did that start? Did they just come up and say, hey, we want to make a movie called The Black Dragon?
It wasn't originally called The Black Dragon. They didn't make that decision until the film was finished.
Did you muscle them into calling it The Black Dragon?
No.
They just decided, it'd be a better.
From Caravaggio's the producer of the film, who was not just the producer, but he was a personal friend. He was at my first son's birth.
Oh, nice.
A good guy. He decided to name the film The Black Dragon, not just because he was a good friend, but I know that the marketability of that at that time was big, because
of the other movies that Bruce Lee was doing.
Films. The film was done on low budget, like $100K.
Wow! But back then that was a lot.
Back then that was big, but it was shot in like 4 weeks. Yeah. All shot in the Philippines, the first one. But the film made a few $1 million. It opened globally and made a few $1 million.
And that was really good back then.
It was like, wow.
The Black
They planned to do 4 more Black Dragon films.
There's 5 Black Dragon films.
There's actually 7 Black Dragon films.
There's 7 Black Dragon films. If you haven't seen them, you need to go out and watch all 7 Black Dragon films right now.
They're on YouTube, yeah.
I need to watch some of those. I need to download them and take.
Some of them are so corny.
You know what though? They're funny. It's funny because some of them are corny, but some of them are fun. You know what I mean? They're fun. There's magic in that stuff because so here's what I know about the martial arts. A lot of that stuff is because people went down that road, right? Yeah, they went down that road. Let's see if I can slow my heart down. How the hell do you even do that? Right? So, all right. So,
And there's a lot of racism in Hong Kong, China, Japan, all over. I
if
got
you
so
were
many
gonna,
clubs as a bad guy
yeah,
in films.
I'm the
And
black guy.
wigs and mustaches and beards. And I don't know how many different black guys I played.
Bad black guys.
I
Well,
told
you
you I worked doing voiceovers for kung fu movies to be
and you were
shipped to
bad guys. You were bad guys
the.
then too. Rah, 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 rah. You know what? So at least you have the blessing of living here in Hawaii where it's not so bad,
I love it here. I don't
right?
care if I'm one of the brown people. It's okay. I'm
But it's
fine.
just not. I
Right
don't
now,
think
I'm
people
fine
are
with it.
focused on black people down here.
Not as much as they are in the mainland.
Right, right. That's one of the cool things about living in Hawaii is that you
I
kind
think
of
most
blend in,
people
do
are
your
happy here.
thing.
I love it here.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way that I would move from here. I'm going to die here.
Oh, are you?
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you picked out your plot yet?
I'm going to be cremated.
Well, that makes it easy.
Yeah.
Where are we gonna? Where's your ashes gonna be put?
Any water.
Any water. You don't have a
Any
particular
water.
beach?
Nope.
I think I'll be out at Makua. If I choose to be cremated, I'll be. You can, my kids, everybody can put me way out in Makua, which is way out on the west side. For those of you listening or watching, it's on the west side of Oahu, way out past Makaha. So that's where I raised my kids. So I have a connection to those beaches and those waters. That's where we go diving. Well, man, what are you going to do for the rest of your Martin Luther King Jr. holiday today?
I'm working on a documentary film called Black Heroes of the Martial Arts.
I saw
It's
that.
a documentary from some books that I wrote, and I'm trying to give some sunshine to a lot of the African American masters and teachers and students of the martial arts. And so it took me over 10 years to write these books, but the film is coming along quite well. I'm about 90% finished.
Wow. Tell me about that. 90% finished. How long is it?
90 minutes.
Woo!
And
90 minutes.
and it will highlight 20 different masters and teachers and mentors of the martial arts, male and female. It's actually 50-50.
Oh, wow. That's cool. And is it just all you and your production company?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Nice. That is cool.
I'm
90% done.
I'm just finishing the narration. I got the music being sent in tomorrow. Got the posters done. Get some color correction, some sound stuff done. But I'm almost ready. It's going to be going to Netflix next month.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another one. And you know what I really want to do, man? I want to do the Ultimate Warriors documentary. We
The
certainly have
Ultimate Warriors documentary. All right, everybody, that was great. I want to thank everybody for showing up today and talking about time, talking about Martin Luther King, talking about racism, talking about what we can do to get beyond it. Next time, next week, we'll be talking about the same kind of stuff. We'll be talking about history, kung fu, martial arts. We're going to have everybody here with you, and I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you, Ron.
You're looking out, Sean. Mahalo, bro.
Thank you, and thank you, Al. And we're out of here. Once again, this is RoundHouse, and we want to thank you for joining us today as we talked about anything and everything the martial arts has to offer. Be sure to tune in next week and join us around the table. RoundHouse. Take the hit. And now a word from our sponsors. Funky Puppy Productions. If you need a production done, Funky Puppy Productions can do it for you. Visit us at funkypuppyproductions.com. On behalf of the International Kaji Kembo Association, we would like to invite you to the Hawaii Pacific Regionals. All styles, MMA combatives, eskrima, point sparring, weapons kata, and forms. The Hawaii Pacific Regionals is a 3-day event, Saturday the 27th, Sunday the 28th, and Monday the 29th. You can pre-register at kajikembo-ika.com. Pre-register today. And if you're interested in looking for more great content from our creators, please check out our other podcast, Beyond Kicking and Punching with Al Dacascos, and Midlife Virus with Sean Harflinger. Both podcasts can be found on Apple Podcast or where great podcasts can be found. Beyond Kicking and Punching and Midlife Virus. Find great podcasts when you want to listen to great content. Caring for Mothers. MalamaYourMama.com. Malama Your Mama is an organization that is all about caring for mothers. To malama is to care. And one of the greatest gifts that we can give our mothers and new mothers is that support system that they so desperately need. Together, we can teach the world to malama our mamas, just like our mamas have malamaed us. We want to dedicate this organization and its proceeds to all the strong mothers out there that have honored us. We want to steward healthy mothers and to raise mothers up. Together, we can malama our mamas. Caring for mothers. Help us by visiting malamayourmama.com and supporting our cause. Mahalo. Don't be lost in the fields with nothing to wear. Whatever realm you reside, interdimensionaloutfitters.com has the gear that you need. Once again, this is RoundHouse, and we want to thank you for joining us today as we talked about anything and everything the martial arts has to offer. Be sure to tune in next week and join us around the table. RoundHouse. Take the hit.